Also, there's the New Companies and Allied Matters Act, which contains extensive business facilitation provisions, and we have the Omnibus Bill, which is still before the National Assembly, which is to codify Executive Order 001 on transparency and efficiency. Then we have justice sector reforms along the business lines as well. The establishment of small claims courts for settlement of commercial disputes that are under 5 million naira. Lagos State was the first to establish this in 2018 with the collaboration of PEBEC. And since 2018, they have looked over at 4,000 different cases. And these have been heard in 19 courts across the state. And this, of course, has reduced cost and time of commercial litigation for many MSMEs. Kano, Ogun, Edo, Ekiti, Nasarawa, Jigawa have also started their own operations. Bayelsa, Kaduna, and Sokoto, and the FCT are on the verge of launching their own small claims courts in the very, very near future. Between 2016 and 2019, Nigeria moved up 39 places in the World Bank Doing Business rankings and was twice named as one of the top 10 most improved economies in the world. The fourth game-changing achievement of our government is a social investment program, and the President dwelt considerably on this. This is an important ideological and policy statement of our party and our government. We took the view from the very inception of the government that a country, especially where there are large numbers of poor people, must provide a well-thought-out social safety net for the poorest and the most vulnerable, and there must be interventions for the young unemployed. So this led to the deployment of the largest social investment program in sub-Saharan Africa, with a budgetary provision of 500 billion naira. And at the time, that was close to $2 billion. Since 2016, we've included that almost 500 billion naira in every one of our budgets, and now is closer, I believe, to 1 trillion naira. It includes conditional cash transfers to over 2 million of the poorest, benefiting from a bi-monthly stipend of 10,000 naira. The National Social Register now contains 46 million persons in over 11 million poor and vulnerable households from across the Federation. We have a school feeding program for public primary schools, now feeding close to 10 million school children across the country. We have an award-winning microcredit scheme for informal traders under the Government Enterprises and Empowerment Program, so the likes of trader money, farmer money, market money, etc. Then we have interventions for the young unemployed population, the Empower Program. We began with employment of about 500,000 young people, and now we have presidential approval for 1 million to be employed under the scheme. So aside from the obvious benefits to millions, the program also is an opportunity to build local digital capacity and expand the financial inclusion base for millions. For the JEEP program, for example, we gave the management to the Bank of Industry, who built the platform that eventually serviced over 4 million beneficiaries, disbursing and handling repayment of credit for this number of people. Today, the Bank of Industry's growth platform is Africa's largest infrastructure for interventions to MSMEs. The Growth Platform's command center now has 22,000 agents living across all local government areas in Nigeria, equipped with proprietary mobile technologies. They receive mandates to capture and digitize businesses that are eligible for its growing suite of programs. The Empower program also led to the building of a robust digital platform for recruiting, for paying, and engaging beneficiaries, the largest of its kind in Africa. The homegrown school feeding has shown multiple returns on investment. It has raised enrollment in schools by as high as 40%, significantly improving nutrition and health outcomes for children in public schools, improving revenues for farmers who service the scheme, and jobs for aggregators, cooks, and others in the value chain. One key lesson that our experience has shown is that it is quite possible to run large-scale programs for the benefit of ordinary Nigerians in a fair and transparent manner. Using technology reduces the problems of human agency and discretion. Running such large programs fairly goes a long way in encouraging ordinary Nigerians to believe and trust in the government that they have voted into power. Permit me to mention 3 challenges that we must confront going forward. The first is the synergy between fiscal and monetary policy. Wherever that synergy fails, it leads to unnecessary drawbacks in our economic performance and planning. What imports are eligible for foreign exchange must agree with the fiscal ambitions for manufacturing and industry. Whatever we agree as fiscal and monetary policy, both sides must agree on what should be eligible and what should not be eligible. It cannot be the province of monetary policy alone. Neither should it be the province of fiscal policy alone. The second is our exchange rate management, and this continues to be an issue. The exchange rate of the Naira to convertible currencies continues to face significant downward pressures because demand substantially outstrips supply, and that's just the reality. On one hand, we have tried demand management and rationing, which has not really worked because fixing the price while the parallel market reveals a massive arbitrage merely creates the opportunity for massive rents. It will also compound the backlog of remittances for foreign businesses who want to repatriate their earnings. The discussion that we now must have, and going forward, is how to manage the situation by finding a mechanism for increasing supply and moderating demand, which will be transparent and will boost confidence. I think that a more market-driven approach will be best. Some price discovery within the context of a managed float is certainly what is required. Some efforts at controlled price discovery that had been made in the past, and the CBN has a history of several of these efforts. They include the foreign exchange market, FEM, the interbank foreign exchange market, IFEM, and then various iterations of the Dutch auction system, whole Dutch auction system, retail Dutch auction system. All of these were price discovery mechanisms, which I believe can still be applied. While they may not be perfect, it would appear as if at least the rules were clear and there was relative stability. When people know how they can access foreign exchange competitively, this will boost confidence and inward flows will increase. My third issue is that we must focus on value addition and productivity in our economy. This happily is well articulated in our medium-term economic plan 2021 to 2025. We must, in doing so, loosen the generalized restrictions on trade. Blanket import restrictions are a dampener on economic activity because a lot of items that might be needed in manufacturing might be affected with a consequent negative impact on value addition in the economy. Importation itself is not the problem. It is what you import and what you do with the importation. It is value added that matters. And this is how, in my view, jobs and wealth are created. Many countries who manufacture are actually huge importers, and they import far more than Nigeria. Let's take, for example, garment manufacturing in Bangladesh, the world's leading garment manufacturer. The world's leading garment manufacturer does not produce most of the cotton it uses. As a matter of fact, it grows only 2% of its annual cotton requirement. In 2019, Bangladesh imported $11.8 billion worth of textiles and apparels, while it exported $37.94 billion worth of garments in the same year. So it's clear that there's nothing wrong with importation if you are going to add value and you are going to export. And I think that we should focus on doing that. Finally, a valuable lesson that we must draw from our efforts over the life of this administration is that coherence and coordination are essential for effective policy implementation. It's important for government policies to be coherent. Otherwise, different parts of government could end up adopting diametrically opposed policies. And I think that one of the very important issues, one of the very important steps that Mr. President has taken is the establishment of the delivery unit in the presidency. This, I think, is effective and greatly helps in ensuring coherence and coordination of policy. I believe we've done well with regard to using planning as a form of promoting coherence in policy making and implementation. And this is reflected by the adoption of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the Economic Sustainability Plan in response to COVID-19, and then, of course, the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, and the ongoing work on the Nigeria Agenda 2050. I think that what the broad consultative process that is involved in drawing up these plans does is that it helps to improve understanding of government intentions and direction, even by public servants, but certainly also by the private sector and the general populace. Planning also means that there is a process by which incompatible policies are realigned and repositioned. Closely related to coherence is coordination. It's important to coordinate the implementation of government policy very closely. Apart from the benefits of several viewpoints being taken into account, the coordination of economic activity enables key economic managers to know how to help their colleagues to achieve common objectives. The truth, of course, is that working in silos or going it alone can often have very harmful effects on policy implementation. Very closely tied to coordination is strong public sector capacity. And I think it's pleasing to note that the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation has been proceeding at pace with the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan. I think that one of the very important steps, Mr. President, which you took in 2016, and I believe I would not be accused of being self-serving here because we have only a few months to go, as you constituted the economic management team under the office of the Vice President. And I think that that was a very administratively sound and wise decision indeed, because constitutionally the office of the Vice President is chair of the National Economic Council, chair of the National Planning Commission, and also chair of the National Council on Privatization, which of course is the Bureau of Public Enterprises. Because of the strong economic position that the office of the Vice President has been placed constitutionally, it makes perfect sense for the office of the Vice President to be the coordinator, the interministerial coordinator of the economic management team. And I believe that Your Excellency acted very wisely and rightly indeed, and I commend this to future administrations and to the incoming President and Vice President. I'd like to thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.